If you're an entrepreneur in Minnesota, consider joining us at the Investor and Innovator Forum held at the Rochester Civic Theater on August 1st. This is the third annual Investor and Innovator Forum. The forum was launched by Destination Medical Center and Mayo Clinic as a venue to foster conversation and collaboration between emerging and experienced entrepreneurs and the investors who support their growth. These conversations will continue in 2019, bringing together investors and innovators from around the region to talk about the climate for innovation and investment with a specific focus on data innovation in a variety of industries. The program will include a private speed networking session between innovative companies and investors, during which companies will have the opportunity to talk with investors and advisors on a one-on-one basis for input and insights. Interested parties can find the event website through CEDA or in our show notes. I'm Amanda Leitner, and welcome to Rochester Rising, where we amplify the stories of Rochester entrepreneurs. Welcome to episode 135 on the podcast today. So today we got to chat with two great entrepreneurs in the community, the husband and wife team of Crystal and Jim Whitmarsh. So this pair are the owners behind Trail Creek Coffee Roasters. So this business started out as a small business roasting coffee out of their garage. Jim actually learned how to roast coffee from a YouTube video. When the husband and wife team met on a blind date 15 years ago, a lot of their early dating years revolved around a coffee shop in their local college town, and they dreamed of one day opening a shop of their own. So Trail Creek Coffee Roasters was started out of a garage in Kasson, Minnesota. The pair was able to take advantage of something called the Cottage food exemption in Minnesota, which they talk about a lot of times throughout the podcast. So the Cottage food exemption allows food producers to register through the Minnesota Department of Agriculture before selling exempt food. Take a food safety course. So basically they can prepare and sell non-potentially hazardous foods like baked goods, jams, jellies, home canned items, or fruits out of their home at farmers markets, community events, or on the internet. But they are not able to ship anything. So people would have to come to them, or they would have to go to the people to deliver the food. So the pair used the Cottage Food Exemption Act to start the business and sell coffee out of their garage. And just a few months ago, they've actually transitioned into a commercial space in Kasson, which they share with a boutique. So they were able to build and gain a following before moving into their commercial space. So Jim and Crystal dropped a lot of words of wisdom on the podcast today, so stay tuned. You're in for a real treat. And this podcast was part of our Emerge video series. This was probably actually the last Emerge video that we're going to record in the foreseeable future. So please check out the shortened version of this podcast in video form on our website or on Facebook or however else you like to connect with our brand. All right, so now on to the podcast with Jim and Crystal, owners of Trail Creek Coffee Roasters.
I would say the biggest thing that we found to be really helpful is being connected with CEDA, the Community Economic Development Association. So they've really helped to connect us with lots of other just businesses or entrepreneurs in business. And so that connection really has brought us many opportunities, which has been great. People who I've told about CEDA are like, oh, I've not heard of them. So I think just increasing the awareness of what they can do for you. Anytime I've had, like a question about something, I can reach out to them, and they've helped me kind of get the right resources or work through what I need to work through. So it's been really cool.
Trail Creek Coffee Roasters is we started off as just a small business roasting the coffee out of our garage under the Cottage food exemption, and then we've now finally found a commercial space that we've come into and made our own, and people can expect to come in and have a experience of trying our coffees. We have 5 or 6 different coffees usually rotating, and we'll have some brewed for people to come in and try. They can also do some shopping. We've partnered with a boutique to offer kind of a combination of coffee and clothes. And then we also have a lot of venues that we are participating in throughout the summer and fall where people can find us as well. And we'll typically have all of our coffees available for sampling as well as for purchase at those events.
Mm-hmm. And then I'll just add too that our mission statement is that we're a small batch specialty coffee roaster with a passion for connection, community, and global impact, or community connection and global impact. So we love the fact that now we have a space where people can come in here and sit down and just hang out. And we're not a coffee shop yet, but you can enjoy our coffee and have good conversation, and hopefully you feel welcome and comfortable to just hang out, as well as the impact that we can have globally through sourcing our beans from different single origins, different countries. We utilize fair trade organic pretty frequently. We're looking into more direct trade options, as well as trying out some different micro lots, which is where we support, it's one farmer versus a region of farmers. So we really like that aspect of coffee, that you can enjoy it here, but also you're supporting people across the globe. So Jim and I met a little over 15 years ago. We were set up on a blind date. And on that blind date, we went to Pizza Hut because that's romantic and affordable. And there really wasn't very many places to go out to eat in our college town. No. And then we went and hung out at a coffee shop. And so a lot of our time during our dating years was hanging out at this coffee shop, playing games with friends, Dr. Mario on the Nintendo.
Super Nintendo.
Yeah. And so we started to dream about opening a coffee shop, but we never really thought that would come to fruition. We thought it was kind of like maybe in retirement we could do it, but we both were seeking professional degrees and just didn't foresee it actually happening. And then we got married in 2006. We were in Michigan. We moved to Minnesota. Both started our jobs. I continued on with graduate school, and then was it like 4 years ago?
Yeah. About 4 years ago or so.
Jim saw an article online about how to roast your own coffee. So I'll let him talk about that part.
Yeah, I just found a video on how to roast your own coffee using a vintage 1980s popcorn popper. And so I thought, well, I needed one more thing to do because life wasn't busy enough already with our first child at the time. And so I decided to give it a try just as a hobby. And we had, started drinking quite a bit of coffee in college, I guess. So it was just something cool that I thought would give it a try. And
plus, after the first kid, we needed more coffee.
Yeah, we needed more coffee.
He didn't sleep at all.
No. But yeah, just was a way to find something, find a hobby and try this fresh roasted coffee. Didn't really know anything about it. Had never had it before. And it really took off. I mean, the popcorn popper would roast about a half a cup at a time, about 6 to 8 minutes per batch. So really have to roast a lot just to get a little bit.
And it was really smoky. Like the whole house.
Made a lot of smoke.
Smoky.
Had to do it out in the garage. But it caught on. I mean, we liked it, so we shared it with family and friends, and they liked it. I think one year we gifted it for Christmas, and I had 3 popcorn poppers going all at once in the garage just to try to make enough, for a Christmas gift, and decided that that was the time to start looking at roaster, for actual coffee roasters. And I found a few of them, and then finally settled upon a small commercial roaster actually from Mill City Roasters in Minneapolis. Yeah, it's grown from there. So we decided about, well, I guess we had been doing the cottage food exemption for a couple years, and then we decided last year to finally, to start pursuing the commercial aspect of it. So.
And the cottage food exemption is a really neat program in Minnesota as well, that we can, we were able to roast in our home and go to community events and sell our coffee, which really helped to build a following as we were getting ready. And then we were able to tell people, okay, now be watching for us because we're going to be opening a commercial space. So I think that was a really nice bridge to starting the business. So we have our website, trailcreekcoffeeroasters.com, and you can order on there, and we will ship priority mail to you. So
it's probably, I don't know, last spring, I'd say, when we were kind of getting more busy with events that we were doing, and I was finding myself roasting more. With 2 kids, it's hard to roast in the evening, so had to pretty much either Crystal would put them to bed or I would roast after they were sleeping. And so it started turning into some late
nights.
Some late nights, and then we just made the decision that we were going to pursue the commercial space and start working on getting our food manufacturing license. I guess I would just say it was really the events, all of the events that were keeping us busy.
Yeah, and it's so fun to go to events and be able to connect with people over coffee. And we realized Kasson is a great town, and it seems like everybody in Kasson really values community. But there's not a lot of places here to go just to kind of sit down and hang out. There's restaurants, and different things like that. But there's not there's no coffee shop. There's no just come in and sit and connect with other people. So we also saw that need here and wanted to provide that as well. But yeah, Jim he was working full time. He was commuting an hour and 10 minutes one way to his job. And so we were hustling really hard. And it almost came to a point where it was we either do this and jump all in, or we hire somebody to help. But he loves roasting the coffee, and so he's I want to do it myself. And he quit his job 2 months ago, so he's full-time roasting now.
Probably to just plan on, when you're coming up with your budget and your time frame to finish your space, just plan on it taking longer, and having patience and waiting out the process and getting through it. And
that's the hardest thing for me.
Yeah, it's been tough. What else?
But yeah, everything takes more time and more money than you anticipate, right? So just being smart about it and being patient, and also recognizing that the people doing the work for you have a lot going on too. So being respectful when you're communicating with them, but also being prepared for anything really. And then I kind of like the way that we've done it with starting in the garage, and now we have our food manufacturing license, so we're roasting here and retailing and wholesaling. And then our next step is to transition the space into a coffee shop. So doing it that way, I feel like the business has been able to support us somewhat as we go, versus just kind of jumping all in and having to take out a lot of loans or things like that,
Yeah, I think the cottage food exemption, as Crystal mentioned earlier, it really helped us to kind of build a foundation of customer base, so that we're not building the space out and then having to find customers to support our business. We came into the commercial space with somewhat of that base already, so now it's just a matter of scaling, reaching more people, because there's still, it seems like a lot of people in the area that haven't heard of us yet. So we're excited to be able to meet more people at the events we're going to be going to, and getting to share our coffee with them. It's pretty exciting. I mean, like Crystal mentioned earlier, we talked about or dreamt about like having our own coffee shop one day, and didn't really think it was ever going to come to fruition. I mean, you always have kind of plans and hopes and dreams, but how many people actually, follow that? And so just it was a tough decision to go all in, but one that it's been really exciting. I get to come here every day just about and roast coffee and talk to people in the community and at different events, and I don't have to go to a job or where I'm commuting, or my commute now is like 2 minutes. So that's been great, and just
more time with the kids.
Just being able to flex my schedule as needed has been really great.
I think especially it became really real when Jim quit his job, and so his day job. So the weekend after he was officially done with that, I think we both went through just what are we doing? This is insane. And that it's becoming less frequent for me, at least, when that comes up in terms of fear of, is the business going to make it? Are we going to make enough money to keep food on the table? Are people going to, is our coffee really that good? Well, yes, it's really that good. It's so I think just in those moments of fear, reminding ourselves that well, for one, the coffee's really good and people who love it will want it, and that will work. But also just even if we do fail, at least we tried it and we know that we tried it, Had we not tried it, then we might have regretted it. And so it's better just to take that leap, but it's scary. I don't know, what do you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, no, definitely. For me, it was when the construction started and the concrete was cut up and piles of dirt everywhere for the plumbing to be installed, and I walked in and I'm like, what are we doing? But yeah, no, it's every day's an adventure. It's fun. It definitely is trying at times. I mean, like Crystal said, we, every day, or not every day, but some days we still wonder what we're doing. But
or I think when things go wrong, in the renovation process, when something would take longer or we'd experience a challenge or something like that, then you start to second guess, oh man, this is going to take a lot more time and work and money, and we don't have that, but it all seems to work itself out. So you just got to hang in there. Final thoughts. I would like to thank the community for supporting us, and for just being so welcoming here in Kasson. And I ask that you continue to support local businesses so that we can keep supporting our family and chasing our dream, but encouraging others to chase theirs as well, because it is possible if you just show up and do it and keep pushing forward. And then where to find us. So you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and then our website, trailcreekcoffeeroasters.com. And then our upcoming events. So we have 5 dates that will be at Thursdays downtown, starting next Thursday, June 6th is our first date there. You can find us at the Cannon Falls Farmers Market. Follow our Facebook page for updates on when we'll be there, because it won't be super consistent, but at least once or twice a month. And then, and that's Saturdays from 8 to noon. We'll be at the Steele County Fair in Owatonna. And what else? Oh, our shop hours. So you can come and see us here on Thursdays from 4 to 7, Saturdays from 10 to 3 right now. And then be looking for future morning hours to be able to come in and grab a cup of coffee for your commute, because we're transitioning into that. So, Anything else?
I think you covered it all.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks to Jim and Crystal for being on the podcast today. Be sure to check them out on their website, on their Facebook and Instagram to learn more about what they're doing. So if you liked this podcast, check us out as well on our website at rochesterrising.org. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter with the handle @RochesterRising. We're on Instagram with the handle @RochesterRising_MN, and we are also on YouTube. So check us out on any of those platforms. And as always, if you know an entrepreneur that would be a great guest for the podcast, send us their name. So you can reach us at rochesterrising@gmail.com. That's a wrap for the podcast today. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple Music or wherever you consume your podcast content so that you never miss a story of entrepreneurship and innovation coming out of Rochester, Minnesota. We'll see you here next week with a brand new story.